as in that scenario, you wouldn't know who you could trust. You wouldn't know if one of the other women who appeared to be a victim actually would turn, because the truth is, these people could make you do almost anything.
It's just absolutely terrifying. And so, you hear about these like wild parties that Epstein would have with, these young girls who would, be victimized by these powerful men. To your comfort level, I don't want to, make you think about things that are difficult to think about given what you went through, but can you describe what those scenes were like?
So I wasn't involved in any of these parties. But my understanding is, I know that like neither Jeffrey nor Ghislaine really liked alcohol or drugs. So when you describe it as like wild parties, it's more about he would have these very lavish parties and very sort of intimidating parties. And my understanding is at some of these parties, some of the girls were present, and then there was some kind of opportunity for the other people to have sexual experiences with these girls.
And were there drugs readily available or alcohol readily available for others, even though Epstein and Maxwell didn't partake in that particular?
Jeffrey hated drugs.
Interesting, okay.
So obviously sort of, socially, alcohol, yes. He didn't drink. He didn't like anything to do with drugs. And he also wanted the girls to be fully present for the abuse.
Wow.
Oh, that's super interesting. Okay, so
that's so sick. I mean, it's sick to drug the whole thing is sick, but the fact that he like made it known that he wanted, these girls to be fully cognizant of what was happening is just, there's like something really twisted about that.
Yeah, so I don't know if you're allowed to talk about it, but in all those interactions over the 10 years, did you ever see Trump at any of these parties?
I didn't see Trump at any of the parties. I was introduced to Trump by Ghislaine Maxwell at a party in Manhattan when I was about 20 years old. And this is something that's been documented, in fact, by the Mirror, which ironically used to, well, or maybe not ironically, was owned by Robert Maxwell previously.
Right.
The Mirror wrote a story about Ghislaine introducing me to Trump at a New York Manhattan event. And the article describes incorrectly a bunch of things that happened subsequently. And I mean, for clarity, I'm interested in the truth. Whether or not the truth suits my narrative, I'm here for the truth.
Right.
And there was a lot of misinformation within that article. And in that situation, I was very much brought to Trump as some kind of offering by Ghislaine Maxwell, like setting up like a date, right? Trump did not behave in any way inappropriately with me.
Okay.
And that's the truth. That doesn't mean that there weren't other inappropriate things that were done, but that was my experience, right?
So you got the sense that you were given it as an offering, but Trump was at that point in time, for whatever reason, was not interested.
That's right.
Okay, how about Bill Clinton? Any interaction with him?
I didn't have interaction with him, but I did have on multiple occasions, I was told of that he was coming, whether it was that he's coming to Palm Beach or he's coming to stay at the island. In fact, when I was on the island, Jeffrey and Ghislaine both told me like, oh, you're staying in the room that Bill likes. So if he comes, you might have to move from that room because that's the room he likes.
No, well, at least they said move.
Right,
okay.
Yes.
All right, the island, I've always been curious about that. Now, again, you're guessing here because you didn't have interactions with everyone involved, right? But like I thought, well, maybe you could go to his New York apartment, because you're in Manhattan, you had a business meeting or whatever. But going to the island feels like almost everyone who went there knew what was gonna happen. Do you think that assumption is correct or incorrect?
I think that assumption is correct. I also can tell you that because of the way that all the properties were decorated, all the pictures of young, naked women, and this was across the board. It didn't matter whether you were on the island or you were in Paris, there was this like in your face kind of exposure to basically artistic pedophilia. And so you couldn't be at any of these properties, and you'd have to be walking around with your eyes closed to not know.
And to get on a plane to go to the island knowing this about Epstein, you know that you're very likely going to be offered a girl. Is that fair?
I mean, this is not my experience. This is a speculation, but I would say that, I stick to what I said. I don't think anybody could go to any of these properties and not have an understanding of what might be going on there.
So final question for me, you initially, I was watching an interview of you on BBC back in June, and initially you were not necessarily in favor of the release of the Epstein files, but you have changed your mind. So I wanted to kind of ask you, what made you change your mind, and what are you hoping would be accomplished by the release of the Epstein files?
So it's not so much that I've changed my mind, it's just the differentiation between a list and the files. And I think, we have to keep coming back to that. Whereas, we want everything. And this bill that's been put forward by Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie, this is everything.
Right.
Like, let's get it all out. Can we get it all out now? Can we stop messing around and get it all out?
I agree with you on that, because just releasing a list of names doesn't really tell you anything.
No.
Right, but releasing the files would, that implies that it's going to include evidence. It's going to kind of put those names in a certain context that will help the public understand what was really going on.
Right.
Yeah.
And now after this meeting, the private meeting with Congress and then the press conference outside, we have this opportunity, this window of opportunity, and thank goodness for those, like the 3 Republican congresswomen who came forward. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene was amazing. Her coming out and supporting us like that, if anyone can redeem themselves, that's the way to do it.
I have to say, she has been incredibly good on both the Epstein files and also her quest to get foreign money out of our politics, which I think is incredibly important.
Right.
But you mentioned the other Republicans, but have you been approached by any Democratic lawmakers who are looking to help, who are looking for the release of the Epstein files as well?
I mean, I haven't been approached directly, other than obviously like Ro Khanna, but certainly within the press conference, within the private meeting with Congress that we were able to do, every single member who was present was like, we are in this with you. Please hold us accountable. Please follow up. We want to support you. And so what we really need to do now is, because we need 3 more votes, right? And we're talking about the end of the month. So what we need to do is really bring out the support for these Republican congressmen and women. And because they are taking a big risk.
They are, yes.
I don't think they're taking a risk. I think they're taking a risk by not voting yes. Okay, if they vote no, that means they are betraying American women and siding with predators. There's no answers or buts.
I agree, but there's a divide in this country between ordinary people who want justice and the elite. And the elite very clearly are engaging in a cover-up of these Epstein files.
So that